Class 7 Sacred Heart Senior Secondary School, BRS, Nagar. Science, Lesson 1, Nutrition in Plants. An effort by Nagar, Class 7-D. For tuitions, please call 9815444985. Basic activities performed by all living organisms are known as life processes. The bodies of living organisms are made of tiny units called cells. Cells can be seen only under the microscope. Some organisms are made of only one cell. The cell is enclosed by a thin outer boundary, called the cell membrane. Most cells have a distinct, centrally located spherical structure, called the nucleus. The nucleus is surrounded by a jelly-like substance called cytoplasm. Nutrition, respiration, growth, excretion, reproduction and response to stimuli are some of these basic life processes. To perform these life processes, living organisms require a continuous supply of energy and materials. The energy and materials come from the foods they eat. The process of taking or consuming and utilizing food is called nutrition. Foods are substances from which an organism derives energy and materials for growth and maintenance. Food consists of a number of important components, like the proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins and minerals. These components of food are necessary for our body and are called nutrients. In both plants and animals, the basic components of food, like the proteins, carbohydrates, fats and minerals, are the same. The green plants can prepare their own food from simple inorganic substances, like carbon dioxide and water, in the presence of sunlight. However, most animals, including human beings, eat ready-made food, as they cannot prepare their own food. Modes of nutrition. There are basically two modes of nutrition: 1. Autotrophic, 2. Heterotrophic. Autotrophic nutrition, the mode of nutrition in which organisms make their food themselves from simple substances, is called autotrophic nutrition. This mode of nutrition is found in green plants. In green plants, a green pigment called chlorophyll is present. In this method, an organism makes its own food from simple inorganic substances. Autotrophs are producers of food. Heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic nutrition is a type of nutrition in which energy is derived from the intake and digestion of organic substances, generally plant or animal tissue. The breakdown products of digestion are used to synthesize the organic materials required by the organism. All animals, including man and non-green plants, show heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Heterotrophs, those organisms which cannot make food themselves by the process of photosynthesis and take food from green plants or animals, are called heterotrophs. All the non-green plants and animals, including human beings, are heterotrophs. Examples of non-green plants are fungi such as mushroom, yeast and bread mold. Heterotrophic animals can be of three types: 1. Herbivores, plant-eating animals like cow, buffalo, goat and elephant. 2. Carnivores, flesh-eating animals like tiger and lion. 3. Omnivores, those who eat both plants and animals, like humans, crow and cockroach. Where does photosynthesis occur? Making of food occurs in the leaves of a plant or tree. So, leaves are the food factories of a plant. The leaves of a plant can synthesize food because they contain a green pigment chlorophyll. Other parts of a plant usually cannot synthesize food because they do not contain chlorophyll. The process of photosynthesis first produces a simple carbohydrate called glucose as food. The glucose carbohydrate then gets converted into a complex carbohydrate called starch. This starch gets stored as food in the various parts of plant including leaves. In fact, the presence of starch in the leaves shows the occurrence of photosynthesis in a plant. Some of the glucose is also converted into other types of plant foods such as fats and oils, proteins as well as vitamins. Conditions necessary for photosynthesis: the presence of carbon dioxide, water, chlorophyll and sunlight is necessary for the process of photosynthesis to take place. Photosynthesis cannot occur in the absence of any one of these conditions. 1. How the plants obtain carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. The plants take carbon dioxide gas needed for photosynthesis from the air. The plants take carbon dioxide gas from air through the tiny pores called stomata, present on the surface of leaves. The singular of stomata is stoma. Actually, there are a large number of tiny pores called stomata on the surface of leaves of plants. Each pore or stoma is surrounded by a pair of guard cells. The opening and closing of stomatal pores in the leaves is controlled by the guard cells. This figure shows open stomatal pores. This figure shows the stomatal pores in closed position. The carbon dioxide gas present in air enters the leaves of a plant through the stomatal pores present on their surface and utilized in photosynthesis. The oxygen gas produced in the leaves during photosynthesis goes out into air through the same stomatal pores. The stomatal pores of leaves open only when carbon dioxide is to be taken in or oxygen is to be released. Otherwise they remain closed. 2. How the plants obtain water for photosynthesis. The plants take water needed for photosynthesis from the soil. Water present in the soil is absorbed by the roots of a plant and then transported to the leaves through the vessels, which run like interconnected pipes throughout the roots, stem, branches and leaves. The tiny, pipe-like vessels, which transport water from the roots of a plant to its leaves are called xylem. The plants also need minerals to make foods other than carbohydrates. For example, plants need nitrogen mineral to make proteins. The minerals dissolve in water present in the soil and get transported with it. This way water and minerals present in the soil are absorbed by the roots of a plant and transported to its leaves through the interconnected pipe-like xylem vessels present throughout the roots, stem, branches and leaves of the plant. 3. The role of chlorophyll in photosynthesis. Chlorophyll is a green substance which is present in the leaves of plants. Chlorophyll can absorb the energy from sunlight. The sunlight energy absorbed by chlorophyll is used to combine carbon dioxide and water in the green leaves to produce food. So we can say chlorophyll absorbs light energy from the sun and supplies this energy to the leaves to enable them to carry out photosynthesis for making food. Since the combination of carbon dioxide and water to make food occurs in the presence of sunlight, the process is called photosynthesis. Photo means light, and synthesis means to combine. Chlorophyll is present in every leaf of a plant, in the form of hundreds of tiny structures, called chloroplasts. 4. The role of sunlight in photosynthesis. The sunlight supplies energy for the food-making process called photosynthesis. The sun's energy is captured by plant leaves with the help of chlorophyll and converted into chemical energy of food. Thus, solar energy is converted into chemical energy during photosynthesis. This chemical energy gets stored in the form of plant food. Since all the food on this earth is made by utilizing solar energy, therefore, sun is the ultimate source of energy for all the living organisms. In leaves which are colored other than green, large amounts of red, brown or other pigments mask the green color. The green pigment is present in such leaves. What would happen in the absence of photosynthesis? In the absence of photosynthesis, life would be impossible on the earth, because 1. There will be no plants. 2. In the absence of plants, survival of other living organisms would not be possible, as they are directly or indirectly dependent on the food made by the plants. 3. Oxygen would not be released in the atmosphere, and oxygen is essential for the survival of all living organisms. What is synthesized during photosynthesis? During photosynthesis, food is synthesized. Oxygen is released in the process. Carbohydrates are prepared in this process. Presence of starch, a carbohydrate, in the leaves is regarded as an evidence of photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide plus water gives rise to carbohydrates and oxygen. In short, green plants require 4 things to prepare their own food. 1. Carbon dioxide, absorbed from the atmosphere through stomata present on the leaf's surface. 2. Water absorbed from the soil through the root system and transported to the leaves by pipe-like structures called xylem, which run throughout the plant body. 3. Chlorophyll, present in the leaf. 4. Light coming from the sun. Other modes of nutrition in plants. 1. Saprophytic, feeding on dead and decaying organic matter. These plants lack green color. Examples are fungi, mushrooms. Saprophytes are commonly seen during and after rains. 2. Parasitic, living on another organism and deriving food from that organism. The organism deriving food is called a parasite, and the other organism, from which the food is derived by the parasite, is called the host. The parasites produce special structures, called haustoria, for absorbing food from the host. Parasites may be total or partial. Dodder or a marble or cuscuta is a total parasite. Mistletoe is a partial parasite. Mistletoe has green leaves and can synthesize its own food. Booty, it receives water and minerals from the host plant on which it grows. 3. Symbiotic, two different organisms live together and both benefit from each other. Example is lichen. In a lichen, algal and fungal partners live together and both are mutually beneficial. Algal component of a lichen is autotrophic. It provides food material to the fungal component in the lichen. In return, the fungus provides shelter, water and minerals to the alga. 4. Insectivorous, feeding on small insects. Examples are pitcher plant, Venus flytrap, sundew plant and bladderwort. These plants possess special methods to catch insects. In a pitcher plant, the leaf lamina is modified to form a pitcher-like structure, and the leaf tip is modified into a lid. Insectivorous plants, in fact, are green plants which prepare their own food from the raw materials, carbon dioxide, water and sunlight, obtained from the soil and atmosphere, just like the autotrophs. The nitrogen requirement to these plants is provided by the insects which these plants capture. How nutrients are replenished in the soil. The main nutrients required by the plants are nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. These are called mineral nutrients or just minerals. The plant nutrients are present in the soil naturally. When the plants are grown, they absorb the nutrients from the soil, due to which the amount of plant nutrients in the soil goes on decreasing. And when the crop plants are grown in the same fields again and again, then the soil becomes deficient in plant nutrients. Due to this, the plant nutrients need to be added from time to time to enrich the soil and restore its fertility. The plant nutrients are replenished in the soil in two ways. 1. By adding fertilizers and manures. 2. Nitrogen can be replenished in the soil by growing leguminous crops. 1. By adding fertilizers and manures. Fertilizers and manures contain plant nutrients, such as nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, etc., etc. So, when fertilizers and manures are added to the soil in the fields, then the soil gets enriched with nutrients. The two most common fertilizers which are used to provide plant nutrients in the fields are NPK and urea. NPK fertilizer provides nitrogen N, phosphorus P and potassium K to the soil in the fields, whereas urea provides only nitrogen. 2. Nitrogen can be replenished in the soil by growing leguminous crops. Though a lot of nitrogen gas is present in the air, but the plants cannot use nitrogen in gaseous form. The plants need nitrogen in the form of water-soluble compounds such as nitrates. The plants such as gram, peas, pulses and beans are called leguminous plants or legumes. The leguminous plants have root nodules in them, which contain rhizobium bacteria. Rhizobium bacteria can convert nitrogen gas of air into nitrogen compounds like nitrates. So, when a leguminous crop is grown in a field, the rhizobium bacteria present in the root nodules of leguminous plants convert nitrogen gas of air into nitrogen compounds like nitrates. Some of these nitrogen compounds are used by the leguminous plants for their own growth. The remaining nitrogen compounds, made by rhizobium bacteria, mix with the soil in the field and enrich it.